Blessed are they that do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. What are we talking about here? What is this all about? Well, in the first Beatitude, we talked about the whole idea of being humble, the poor in spirit. In the second one, we talked about the idea of mourning, of feeling a sense of remorse for what we've done with our life, what we've done to our life, what we've done to other people in our life. And number three, the meekness. We talked about what it means to truly be teachable, to be open, receptive to consciousness, and to start dropping the idea of a me, an I, and a you, and begin to entertain the truth that we are pure awareness. We are nothing more than awareness of consciousness. And now we come into this thing of to hunger and thirst after righteousness, that we might be filled. Well, we'll get into the filled in a moment. Most of us are in the inertia of our life, and this inertia has to do with my minutia. And most of the time I'm working against myself instead of learning to understand the flow that lives within. To do this work, to authentically do an authentic spiritual practice, to really get real about it, isn't a matter of just sitting there and going to church and thinking that the speaker, whoever is before us, is going to be able to tell us how to do things to be a better person. You're going to go through many, many segments of yourself, many dark and light places. You're going to go through a great deal of, well, shall we say, strange stuff, mystery that you're going through. And as you go through it, you're going to need something called horsepower. At least that's what I call it. I look at a student, I evaluate them via their horsepower. I don't much care about their comprehension. I really don't. It's their consistency that I'm looking for, and it's the same thing in my own practice. How consistent can I be? How much horsepower do I have to stay with the practice, no matter what my emotionality might be telling me to do, or my passions are telling me not to do, or my fears are trying to influence me with? It's about the horsepower I have to no longer go back to the simple ways of my life where I just lived for what I could get, what I wanted, what I desired, what other people thought of me, just to go back to that minutia and just try to slog through it for the rest of my life. The horsepower that we're talking about here, to hunger and thirst, is simple. It means, imagine you're in a spiritual practice, and if you were hungry and thirsty, as they were in the days that Jesus spoke, where they carried just enough food that they could get to one town or to another, just barely enough, a little water, which all they could carry. They hungered and thirsted after righteousness. What does that mean? It means you got to want it more than anything in your life. You got to want it so bad that it isn't a want anymore. It's something other than a want. It's the driving force of your life. There's an old Zen story that I've always loved. It's a perfect story for this one. It's about the little monk that goes to the master and says, I want to study with you. I want to learn to meditate. I want to awaken. And the master heard him and thought, So he said, I'm going to go down by the river and get into it and take a bath. Why don't we take a bath and we'll talk about it together? So the little monk goes with the master, and he thinks this is going to be a groovy little thing. And they get down to the water, and they get to talking a little bit, and the master jumps on top of him, holds his head down underneath the water. The master was a powerful guy, so he had no problem holding down the little monk. The monk is thinking to himself, what is this madman doing? Is he going to drown me? And he tried his hardest to get up, but couldn't, over and over and over again, trying over to get up out of the water, to breathe a little bit. Finally, the master pulls him out of the water. And he's breathing, he's going, what are you doing? And the master looked at him and said, while you were under the water, what were you thinking about? And the little monk thought to himself, he said, I just wanted to get back up to where there was air. I just wanted to survive. And the master looked at him and he said, if you can do your practice, live in your practice as you live to try to get air from the situation you were in, popping up out of the water to breathe air again. If you could see your life in that situation, in that condition, you would have it perfect. You would know what it means to have the horsepower to do a spiritual practice. You must want it like you want air. You must want it like your body wants to be fed to survive. You must want it so deeply that it must be the only thing in your life, the only thing in your life that means anything to your life. Most of us don't have that kind of horsepower. And that's why the Beatitudes just look like simple, silly statements that don't mean anything or are not relevant to our life. But actually, they're relevant only to the person who is seeking to recognize themselves as awareness. I hope you found the uniqueness of my message here on Aspire and that you will help sustain our effort both on radio and here on TV to keep Aspire on the air, to keep it serving humankind. We need your sponsorship to do this. Your sponsorship is what allows us to be here and to serve humankind the way we do. If you're interested, go to the website at aspire.org and go take a look at support. I deeply appreciate it. Now back to Aspire. In our average everyday life, we're motivated by the idea of some kind of gain. There's always got to be that carrot dangling from our foreheads telling us, if you do this and you do that, you sacrifice this and don't do that, then you're going to get this carrot. But in deep inner work and spiritual work and authentic work, there is no carrot. We are motivated by something other than desire, ambition, and pride. And I know you're asking, well, what would you be, motivated by if it's not those things? It's about life. It's about surging life as it culminates inside of your heart and then starts pouring out of you through awareness. In my own experience, my own direct experience of my own life, and the fortitude that, most people use to get what they want, I found great futility. I found futility in my own fortitude. So rather than trying to go towards fortitude and use that desire, ambition, and pride thing, I started to settle back and really feel, what was my life all about? And I'll be honest with you, I couldn't stand to live one more life in the most meaningless way in which I have lived before. I couldn't stand one more moment of my life living as if, desire, ambition, pride, accomplishments meant anything. I started to really feel the futility of accomplishing anything in our life because we're all subject to impermanence. So no matter what you accomplish, there'll always be somebody who'll do it better, faster, easier, and cheaper. So what are we doing here then? What is this all about? I can't give you that energy, that forwardness that I'm speaking of from within. You have to want love more than wanting what you think is love. And if that doesn't spur you on inside, then the spiritual practice, an authentic one, is not for you yet. You have to have much more futility in your life. And that's why I had lots of futility in my life that I was creating. And it was going on and on and on. And finally, one day, it just dawned on me. What are you doing? What is this all about? Do you think there's some nirvana, there's some happiness somewhere that you're supposed to attain? And if you attain it, how long does it last? What do you have to do to keep it? And you start asking yourselves these kind of questions, and you start to realize, on and on, it isn't about that. Life isn't about that. Life is not about me and thee being happy. It's not about getting what we want, having people around us that support us in our iniquity, our stupidity, our indifference, our apathy. There's an old Zen story that I've always loved about the little monk. He tried very hard to be awakened, to practice meditation, to do zazen, but he just couldn't do it. He just didn't have that thing that I'm talking about, that inertia, that beauty, that sense of timeliness with his own life and his energies. So he went to the master and he said, I'm going to climb up to the top of the temple, and if I am not enlightened within 24 hours, I'm going to leap off the temple and kill myself. And the master looked at him and said, fine, do what you need to do. So he went up there. The whole town was there. All the monks in the village were there. Everybody was watching. 24 hours passed by. He was down to the last 5 minutes, and he was not awakened. So he got on top of the railing, lifted his leg over the top of the railing, and was about to jump when it hit. Just in that moment, just as he was about to leap, oh, he got it. He ran down to his master, and the master, before he even said a word to him, said, congratulations, you did it. What was it that allowed the monk to cross over? Was it the danger of dying? It was the urgency, and that's what I want you to feel inside. Blessed are they that do hunger and thirst is about a certain quality of urgency. An urgency that is so important to you that you would put aside the petty, the mundane. You would put aside the whole idea of trying to have accomplishment and have people admire you, the attaboys. You'd put away everything for the sake of one very special moment in your life. A moment where you awaken. I've worked very hard all of my life in the futility, slogging along in my futility, listening to my brain, listening to my thoughts, and then finally one day it all dropped away. And when it dropped away, finally, the direct experience happened. Blessed are they that do hunger and thirst, for they shall be filled. When you are done with your minutia, and you're done with all of the things that pertain to that minutia, and it's no longer what you're moving towards, it's not going to be the thing that drives you to live, you're going to find something else drives you. And I'm going to tell you what it is. It's a simple word that everybody wants, everybody uses, but few understand. It's called love. And we'll talk about it in a moment. If you didn't get everything I was talking about here on the program, you can download the whole series from the website at aspire.org. And for those of you who are sponsors, you can download them for free. The donation for them goes to purchase more airtime of our radio and our TV program, and it is considered, as I said, a donation. Order yours today, and if you're a sponsor, download them right away. Thanks for watching. Now back to Aspire. There's a vast difference between the person who is motivated by their emotionality and one that is motivated by love. Two very different things altogether. If I'm motivated by my emotionality, I'm going to be motivated to accomplish a goal. And I think these goals are going to add to what? They're going to make me a better person. They're going to make people better. They're going to give me prestige. They're going to give me pride. People will say they're very proud. In fact, that's why most people live, is to accentuate the idea of pride and vanity. When Jesus said, blessed are they that are motivated, shall we say, to hunger and thirst after righteousness, he's talking about love. For they shall be filled with love. I hate the word motivated, but there are not many words in the English language that you can use. So I use that word tongue-in-cheek. What I'm really trying to say to you is this. When you're done trying to impress everyone, including yourself, for all the things that you could do in your life that you think will give you some kind of notoriety, you begin to really see that you and I are doing a lot of what we're doing, most everything, out of the idea of an inferiority complex that we have, low self-esteem, and that we are merely doing everything we're doing to heighten the idea of making a me story sound good, a me story sounding like I'm noble or better than or special, which is what we want to believe we are. We're not special, not any of us, not me, not you, not anyone. We all suffer from the same illness, the same cosmic difficulty, which is that we trust more in our emotionality and in the reasoning power of our brains, and contrasting that with conflict to such a point that we miss our entire life. Blessed are they that do hunger and thirst after righteousness. For me to be motivated by love and not about my emotions, a very big moment. Most people don't want this. Let's face it, 98% of the population don't want this. They don't care. They think in terms of the idea of what gratifies them. And the only thing that gratifies them is something emotional. So I am talking right now to a very small percentage of those of you who are able to watch these videos. We're talking about something so extremely rare, that a person would feel the love that lives within, that is beyond the comprehension of their thinking, their desire, their ambition, their pride. This would destroy an entire person's life in a silly kind of way, because what would you live for? What would you be able to do? We do everything for a goal and a purpose. We don't go to work without the idea of how much money we're going to make. We don't go to work with the idea of making not enough money, so we do what we love to do, but we're not making enough money at it, so we quit. There's so many ways in which we live our life according to the logic and reasoning of our emotionality. And then when it doesn't play out, we get disgruntled, we get unhappy. And after a while, people will say that life takes the life out of them, that life is killing them. It is my interpretation of my life that is killing me. It isn't life itself. To be motivated by love, what does that mean? To live for love, to make love the big thing in my life, to make love the most important thing. I can't teach you how to do that. There are certain things I cannot teach you to do. I would like you to understand them in a way. Then I'd like you to forget them always. And then I'd like you to live by them eternally. But I can't. I don't have that power over you. No one does. You're going to have to come to the point where you understand that the life that you are living is based in your emotionality, your DNA, your genetics, and you're going to have to be okay with that. You're going to have to be okay with the imperfections of yourself. You can't perfect the human. You will never make the human into the divine. No matter how hard you try, you can't do it. People try, they spend their whole life trying to be perfect. It doesn't work. You're going to have to put aside the human part. I put aside Greg. He's over here. I know where he exists. I know how he is. I know what he wants. I know what he doesn't want. I'm very aware of his faults and his misunderstandings. But I don't let him live my life for me. I don't make him the number one thing in my life. Very difficult lesson for people to understand. You can be imperfect at the same time living in the perfect love that lives within you. It's a practice. It's about detachment. It's about becoming aware that you are awareness, that there is no me or you or I, that there is simply this awareness that lives inside of all things, and it unites us into a sense of a very powerful oneness. When you're done with the too much of the too little of you, that is when you will come to the place where you will be filled, as the Master said, to be filled by love, compassion, and believe it or not, creativity and a lot of playfulness. Thank you for watching. Please forgive me. Namaste.